Let's take a look at our third strategy. I'm selfishly going to use another family story for this one. I hope that you won't mind. This one is all about establishing strategic alliances, building a referral system, evaluating within my industry. I have a set of key customers and clients. Who else do they go to for their services? Who else can I connect with that shares that customer pool? Find those partners who service the same type of clients that also need or want what you provide, and then look at the event chain. And I'm going to show you an example of this. In your particular businesses, there's going to be an event chain of something that triggers a customer to come to you, that triggered them to go to somebody else before you, and will trigger them to go to somebody else after you. And so you want to look at this chain. I'm going to introduce you here to one of my daughters, my daughter Claire. It's a little small picture of it. She's a delightful person, studying, latest I think is genetics. She's a junior at Brigham Young University out in Utah. Recently, a young man whom I happen to like came to her and said, "Will you marry me?" Thankfully, I like this young man. He's from Chile, and I happen to live in Chile for a couple of years, so we can speak Spanish together, which is a lot of fun. So you think about the triggers now. This young woman has a proposal to be married. She's got a ring. What else is going to happen? What chain of events is going to happen? Just some ideas. What are the kinds of things happen in a wedding when it gets triggered with that proposal? Engagement parties. Planning. There's a lot of planning that goes into these things. Dress shopping.
Oh, florist, photographer, venue.
Oh, your wallet is just aching, isn't it?
Anyone needs a loan for the wedding?
Attorneys, oh, the prenuptial agreements. Got the dress shop, Lisa picked that one up. A venue, right? The invitations going to the printer, the florist, got that example. Maurice could do the band or the DJ. Well, not the band, but he could do the DJ. My mother... That's right, Maurice is a drummer. I forgot that. A bakery, you got to have an awesome cake. And the limo at the end. And whether it's a limo or just their old jalopy, which is what we had, a 79 Toyota two-tone blue Corolla that we drove away in. These are just a few examples. I know some of you offered up other ideas. But think about that chain of events. Think about all that's happening when this triggers here. And for some, it may have triggered earlier. Perhaps the aspiring young adult anticipating marriage already looked into some of these even before the ring became a reality. You think about this particular chain of events, chain of vendors when someone's getting married. And what we're going to look at, we're going to focus here on the florist and use them as our pivot point. The florist has an opportunity to create strategic alliances with businesses that are typically upstream. I'll just use that phrase, upstream in the chain of events. They likewise have the opportunity to refer work to businesses who are downstream. I haven't paid for wedding flowers for a long time. Do you remember your bill? How much it cost at your wedding?
Oh, we got married in Aspen, so I don't want to talk about it. It's more than flowers should cost, for sure. Yeah.
Okay, for the sake of an even number, we'll say $1,000. I know, but I know it can be more.
Good job. Yeah.
Think about the opportunities. If this florist could get 1 or 2 referrals a month from these upstream partners with whom they have this strategic alliance formed, let's just do one. 1 referral a month, $1,000 over the course of a year, $12 extra $1,000 that might not have come to them had they not established these relationships and alliances ahead of time. And of course, they could provide some type of, referral fee back upstream to those partners. Likewise, the florist is positioned well to refer work downstream to other partners. Let's say that the DJ is also going to cost $1,000. Maurice, I have no idea. Have been a long time. It's a good number. Good start. Let's say that the DJ is $1,000, and if the florist has this relationship with Maurice and says, "Hey, Maurice, I'm going to refer this bride to you. They've got this upcoming wedding. they've previously established together this referral relationship that for every referral that Florist sends to Maurice, he sends back a 10% commission. And so you think about the number of opportunities there are for a florist to do that with these downstream partners. I invite you to take this example and let it just ruminate in your minds as you think about who are my upstream partners, or not necessarily partners even, but who are those upstream businesses with whom I could establish strategic alliances, similarly downstream. Who else do my customers interact with that I really need to be talking to so that I can refer work to them? Think about what's your event chain, find those partners, look at your event chain, and then establish those alliances and profit together. I'll invite you to take another 30 seconds. What's the financial impact? What could it be if you were to establish these relationships? Think about your average ticket price. If someone were to refer that work to you even once a month, what would that add to your bottom line? And how are we on time? 12:13, we're doing great.
Is your daughter getting married here or in Utah?
She's chosen Utah. She's at school out there, and there's a particular venue that where she wants to be married. It was actually the one in the picture there. It's this old cathedral built in, I don't know, 1800s, called the Provo's the name of the city where BYU is. It's the Provo Tabernacle. It was used for civic events for years and years and years, and then burned. And I don't remember the cause of the fire or exactly when it burned, but it was within the last decade. And since that time, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints refurbished it and turned it into one of their temples. And so it's a beautiful place now where it was just a burned out shell not too long ago. It's a nice way to repurpose architecture in a city.
I hear celestial flowers out there, they give 10% to the church.
Celestial flowers? All right.
They give 10% to the church.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah. Spiritual. My spiritual strategy.
Let's walk through a quick summary. We introduced you to a 5-part profit acceleration framework. I hope that the things we've talked about today will be valuable enough to make an impact for you, but also to invite you to come back for the others as we talk about more conversions, more transactions, higher prices, and more profits. So you can each time get 3 more actionable strategies. And in the end, if they're all relevant, you'll have 15 strategies to apply. If even there's 1 strategy per workshop that's relevant for you, I hope that you'll feel that's a good use of your time. We looked at ways to look at that 5-part framework in a way that allows us to have a simple scoreboard, measuring the vital few. And then these 3 actionable strategies, defining and using your differentiating value proposition, using that conversion equation for interrupt, engage, educate, and offer, and then identifying the event chain in your industry so that you can establish those strategic alliances. As free gifts to you just for showing up today, you'll get a 1-month access to the e-learning website that the Chamber has hosted. And if you'd like, I can also come on site, or we can meet somewhere to do a one-on-one where I can use some software that I licensed to look at a profit acceleration framework for you. We look at your business numbers. We look at making some simple changes to say, if we were to make these changes over the course of a year, what would that look like for you? It's kind of creating that future state. And you think about, gosh, that's not just that additional profit, it's that additional vacation or paying off that debt or getting that car. There's a connection there. So that's my offer to you. And feel free just to send a yes to me at murray@growmybusiness.coach or to Jim. And Jim will also get you enrolled in the e-learning website. So I went through that material, didn't pause to really invite you to ask questions. So let's do that. Since we have about 10 minutes before we wrap up, if you have specific input or questions that I can use to clarify for all of us, perhaps the principles that we discussed today. Adam.
So for strategy 1, I was having difficulty correlating the differentiating value proposition to an actual number. What might you suggest for kind of, I guess, driving that down with a little bit more detail to better say, like, if I had that, I close more clients because I'm selling better, or I'm retaining more people and spending less on training with less turnover?
That's a great, great question. And for those perhaps on Zoom who weren't able to hear, Adam is asking the question, if I implement a differentiating value proposition and I use it effectively, really what kind of financial impact could I have? Most successful businesses should see 15 to 20% increase in their annual revenue as a result of developing and using a differentiating value proposition. I encourage you to be conservative in your initial estimates, perhaps choose a 5% increase. But most successful businesses who effectively implement it should see at least 15 to 20% or more. Great question, Adam. Thank you. Yes?
Yeah, I got a question, Murray. Great information, by the way. I'm in a very niche business, a niche aspect of the mortgage business. And that being said, I think I told you on the phone, I can't afford to be getting a lot of calls from potentially unqualified people.
Mm-hmm. And if I remember correctly, Brian, you're in the reverse mortgage
That's
industry,
right.
correct?
That's all I do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So it's very specific. I need qualified leads, And so out of these three, what would you say would be a good focus, or that you've personally seen the most success with someone that has a niche?
Super question.
Like I do.
Let's go to the rest of the group first. Anyone have any suggestions for Brian? What would be, which of those three strategies might he implement first to have the biggest impact?
I have an idea, but I wanted your
Okay. Let's see what Adam says first.
I
And
think, you take a look at the chain of
Derek?
event things, because you have other professional individuals who are dealing with the same, like I do financial planning.
Yeah.
Right, so I would know if people qualify or not, and there's a lot of situations, I have clients that have used reverse mortgage for their retirement planning. So having that chain of event could be really meaningful, because they already know if the person's qualified or not.
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah, great point. Yeah, Derek, again for Zoom, Derek just brought up how valuable it can be for Brian in his niche business to really evaluate his event chain. Who is it that can easily refer work to him, and who could Brian refer work to? Thank you, Derek. That's great. Adam, you had your hand up. Do you want to add to that?
I was just going to say, I think starting off with that differentiating value proposition, nobody can go wrong with. If you have your vision clear and what differentiates you from anyone else in the market, then that alone gives you a direction to shoot for, gives you a direction to align all of your other efforts and all of the people that work for your efforts towards, all of your marketing and messaging that you're putting out. So like that, bar none, should be the first thing from my opinion after seeing the content. And second, a lot of what I was seeing in the slide there was capturing information, but not necessarily allowing for a direct portal to your cell phone to have it ringing off the hook. So it's really if you're going to start looking at downstream partners that you can field referrals to, you still want to be capturing as much of those people's information that are at least leading in a direction that you have information on and could easily exploit to maybe not your advantage, but somebody else's with a referral fee. So I think that all of them are applicable with just some detailed tweaking, which I'm sure, Murray, that's what you are kind of proposing you help with, is some of that detailed tweaking. But anyway, that would be my take on it.
Okay, great feedback from two of your cohorts here. Now let's come back to you, Brian. You said you had an idea of which of the three would be most effective. What did you think?
Well, what both of them said makes a lot of sense. I think something I'm lacking on is being very specific about what I do. I usually tell people I'm a reverse mortgage broker, and that can mean a lot of things. That can mean I offer a very expensive loan that people lose their house to, if that's what they think a reverse mortgage is.
Sure, right.
However, that's not what it is. So I think that's great. I think being more specific and using that three-tier breakdown of what I offer and how I provide a solution possibly to you, who I'm speaking to.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah.
As you asked that question, my first thought went to that differentiating value proposition, because if we met at a networking event and your response was, I help people with reverse mortgages, I'd probably glass over at that point, because first of all, don't know much about them.
Yeah.
Second of all, don't feel like I need it, maybe because I don't know that I need it, right?
I heard something bad about it.
Yeah, so I would suggest for you starting with that, because it's the there's not a lot of cost there to implement. It's just you in your own time. And then the event chain, the cost there is just phone calls to potential partners to say, hey, could we work together in referring work this way?
That's great.
So super feedback from the group
Thanks,
here.
guys.
Thank you.
Very good.
I'm curious just to hear from some of you, as you've added those 3 numbers up, what kind of financial impact have you estimated? Even if you're just conservative. We could do an auction, 5,000, that's what. Anyone hit 5,000 or more? Yeah? 50,000 or more? Yeah, a few hands still. 100,000 or more? Couple? I recognize your businesses vary wildly. And I'm so sorry, I didn't give you the opportunity to introduce yourselves at the beginning. So as you leave today, make your way out really slowly and be sure to introduce yourself using your differentiating value proposition to at least a couple of people. Jim, help me do that next time to make sure everybody has a chance. I feel badly that I didn't do that, so I'm sorry to not giving you your elevator time. Lisa?
So I've got a question as I've been working a lot of marketing in January because January is usually a little slower month for me.
Okay.
Is that different than a marketing dominating message, or is it pretty much the same thing?
Pretty much the same thing.
Okay.
I'd like, it's the engineer in me, I'm kind of a geek, so the more syllables, the better. When I was little, I learned the longest word in the dictionary at that time. It was pneumono ultramicroscopic silicomechaniconiosis. So to be able to say differentiating value proposition sounds so cool. Market dominating position sounds a bit like a Power Ranger to me, but same principle. What is it that makes you unique enough to stand out that when somebody says, I need a headshot, I need a professional headshot, why is Lisa, is it Christensen Photography? Why is Christensen Photography the place to go relative to others I could choose from? She rocks, right? Right, Chris?
I'll put it on my website.
To be respectful of your time, we can wrap it up now. Jim, do you want to say?